Woke up in a wedding I didn't plan. I don't remember falling asleep. I don't even remember what I wore last. All I know is I woke up to the faint smell of roses, something warm and heavy over my shoulders, and voices whispering in a language I couldn't fully understand. When I opened my eyes, everything was gold. Gold curtains, gold-trimmed mirrors, gold light pouring through massive glass doors that opened to a terrace I'd never seen in my life. And in that same room, 6 women were rushing around me. At first I thought I was dreaming. I tried to sit up, but the weight on my chest felt wrong. It wasn't my pajamas, it was heavy fabric, stiff embroidery. When I looked down, my heart stopped. A wedding dress. Not just a silk white gown, embroidered, layered, perfect. My first instinct was laughter. A small, nervous, dry laugh. "What the hell is this?" I mumbled, pulling at the fabric. One of the women turned toward me, smiling too warmly. "Oh, thank God you're awake. We thought you fainted again, Mrs. Hassan." I froze. "Sorry, what, Mrs. Hassan?" She repeated gently, as if that made total sense. "The ceremony starts in 1 hour. You must eat something. Please." My mind blanked. I blinked, looking around. The room looked like something out of a royal movie. Floral arrangements, candles, a massive vanity filled with gold jewelry and hairpins. I could hear soft, traditional music coming from somewhere beyond the door. "Wait," I said, my voice rising. "Who's Mrs. Hassan?" The women exchanged confused glances. One of them laughed nervously. "You are, dear." My throat went dry. I tried to stand up. Bad idea. The gown was so heavy it almost pulled me down. I stumbled to the mirror, grabbing the vanity for balance. The reflection staring back at me didn't look like me. I mean, it was my face, my brown hair, my skin tone, but I looked like someone else. Layers of makeup, golden earrings, my hair styled into a bun with crystals. "What the actual?" I whispered, gripping the edge of the table. I turned to the nearest woman, panic bubbling up. "Okay, listen. I think there's a mistake. My name's Layla Carter. I don't know what this is, but..." She frowned. "Mrs. Hassan, you said not to call you that today. You said you wanted a simpler morning." No. You don't understand. I'm not married. I don't even know anyone named Hassan." The women exchanged looks, again the kind people give someone having a breakdown in public. Then one of them, clearly the oldest, placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "Sweetheart, nerves before the ceremony are normal. Just breathe. You've had a hard few days." "A hard few days? What ceremony?" "The wedding, dear." The words hit like a slap. I felt dizzy, and not in a romantic wedding day way. The room felt too bright. My chest tightened. I tried to remember the last thing I did before waking up here. Okay, let's think. 2 days ago, no, maybe 3. I was at my friend Mia's engagement party. Big event, downtown Los Angeles, tons of champagne. I remember laughing, dancing, taking photos. I remember someone offering me a drink I didn't recognize, fruity, pinkish, and that's it. After that, nothing. Just a blank void. Now, I was in an unfamiliar mansion surrounded by people treating me like a bride. I checked the vanity for my phone. Nothing. My purse? Gone. I looked around the room. Even my ID wasn't there. The only personal item I could find was a small embroidered clutch on the nightstand. I opened it. Inside, lipstick, tissues, and an ID card. I froze again. The ID said, Layla Hassan. Same photo as me. Same face. Same smile. Same hair. Different last name. My heart started racing. What the hell is happening? One of the women walked over with a tray. "Please eat something, Mrs. Hassan. You'll faint again." "I'm not Mrs. Hassan," I snapped, louder than I intended. The woman flinched but forced a smile. "Your mother-in-law will be here soon. Please don't upset her again, okay?" Again? I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab their shoulders and shake the truth out of them. But something told me it wouldn't work. These women weren't lying. They believed this was real. I stumbled toward the door, yanking it open. A long marble hallway stretched out before me, filled with people, bustling about caterers, decorators, musicians. Everyone dressed in elegant traditional attire, speaking quickly in a melodic language I half recognized but couldn't place. Somewhere far off, I heard music. Drums, strings, laughter, a celebration, and then voices. "Where is the bride? She must be ready soon. Mr. Hassan is waiting." I backed against the wall. I needed to get out. I tried to blend in, moving through the hall, barefoot, clutching the hem of the dress so I wouldn't trip. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. I turned a corner and ran straight into someone. He was tall. Dark hair slicked back, wearing a tailored white suit with golden embroidery that looked like it cost more than my car. He smelled faintly like cedar and musk. His eyes widened when he saw me. "Layla," he said softly, like he was seeing something precious. I stepped back. "Do I know you?" He frowned. "What do you mean? Are you okay?" No, I'm not okay. I don't know who you are or where I am or why I'm dressed like this." His jaw clenched. "You don't remember?" "Remember what?" He took a slow breath, eyes scanning my face like he was searching for something familiar. "We spoke last night. You said you were ready." "Ready for what?" He hesitated. "For this." Then he glanced down at my gown and smiled sadly. Something in me snapped. "Listen, whoever you are, I think someone's playing a sick joke. I need my phone, I need to leave," and before I could finish, a voice boomed from behind him. "Layla!" I turned. A woman maybe in her 50s, regal, draped in gold silk, walked toward me with an expression that could kill. Her posture screamed authority. Every person in the hall fell silent when she appeared. The man stepped aside immediately. The woman stopped right in front of me, her eyes scanning my face with disappointment. "You look pale. Sit." I didn't move. "Who are you?" Her eyes narrowed. "You will not embarrass us today." "Us?" I repeated, backing up. Ma'am, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not. She cut me off sharply. If you leave now, you'll ruin everything your father started. I blinked. My father? She turned to one of the assistants. Fix her hair. She's nervous. No, wait. I reached out, but the man in the white suit, Mr. Hassan, apparently gently took my hand. Layla, he said quietly. Please, just come inside. We'll talk later. I stared at him. Something about his voice calmed me for half a second. Low, warm, steady. But it didn't make sense. None of it did. They led me into what looked like a ballroom turned ceremonial hall. Rows of guests sat on either side, golden drapes cascading from the ceiling, chandeliers reflecting soft light across the room. Cameras flashed. People whispered. Every pair of eyes turned toward me. The man Adrian Hassan, I overheard someone say, stood at the front, waiting. My knees felt like jelly. Somewhere in the distance, music started. My stomach dropped as two women gently adjusted my veil. One of them whispered, "Breathe, Mrs. Hassan." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I wanted to scream that I didn't belong there, that this wasn't real, that I didn't agree to any of it. But hundreds of people were watching, cameras flashing, smiles everywhere. The matriarch stood off to the side, expression unreadable. The man Adrian looked nervous too, like he could sense something was off. I took one hesitant step forward. One, then another. Each step echoed through the hall. Everyone smiled, clapped softly, whispered blessings I didn't understand. Inside, my thoughts were chaos. Get out, run, scream. Something's wrong. But my body didn't move the way my mind wanted it to. Maybe it was fear, maybe shock, maybe disbelief so strong it froze me in place. When I reached the front, Adrian took my hands gently. His palms were warm, his eyes sincere, too sincere. You're safe, he whispered. I looked up at him, my heart hammering in my chest. Safe? He smiled softly, and for the briefest second I thought, what if he truly believes this is real? What if everyone does? Then the officiant began to speak, his words rhythmic and ceremonial. I didn't understand most of it, but I caught my name, Layla Hassan, again and again. I wanted to shout, "That's not my name!" But the cameras flashed. The guests cheered softly. The matriarch nodded approvingly. So I just stood there, frozen, watching my own life spiral into something I couldn't recognize. When the officiant paused, Adrian slipped a ring onto my finger, a perfect gold band engraved with tiny letters I couldn't read. Everyone clapped. And me? I smiled. The kind of smile that hides terror. Inside, I was already planning. The moment this ended, the moment they looked away, I'd run. I didn't know where or how or who would believe me, but I'd run the second I got the chance. Because whatever this was, it wasn't my wedding. And I sure as hell wasn't the bride they thought I was. If you've ever faked a smile so hard your cheeks started twitching, multiply that by 100 and you'll understand what it felt like to stand beside my supposed husband while guests toasted our love. The ceremony was over, but the nightmare wasn't. Music blared, flashes went off, and I sat there in a fog, nodding and smiling as people hugged me, kissed my cheeks, called me Layla Hassan. Every time I heard it, it hit like a punch to the chest. Adrian stayed glued to my side, calm, perfect, polite. He looked exactly like the kind of man who'd have everything under control. Broad shoulders, posture so straight it looked trained. When he smiled, it was a subtle kind, not showy, just confident. People kept congratulating him. He thanked them graciously. Every once in a while, he'd glance at me like he was making sure I was okay. It should have been comforting. It wasn't. At some point, he leaned close enough for me to smell his cologne. Something woody. Expensive. You should eat something, he murmured. You haven't had a bite all day. I stared at the golden plate in front of me. Roasted lamb, saffron rice, something fragrant that looked like heaven. My stomach turned. I'm fine, I said tightly. You look pale. I am pale, I hissed, because I'd just married a stranger. He blinked, the faintest frown creasing his forehead. Layla, don't do this here. Don't do what? Point out that I have no idea who you are. A couple sitting across the table glanced over, so he smiled at them, pretending everything was normal. He reached for his glass and said quietly, without looking at me, "You told me you had a dramatic streak, but I didn't think you'd test it today." My fork clattered against the plate. "Excuse me?" He turned his head slightly, his voice still calm. "We'll talk privately, please." It wasn't threatening. It was firm, the kind of tone people use when they're used to being obeyed. I didn't like it one bit. I wanted to bolt right there, in front of everyone, but something in his expression stopped me. Not fear, curiosity. He looked genuinely confused, like he was seeing a ghost. After the toast, after the endless photos, after I smiled until my lips hurt, I finally got a moment alone, sort of. A pair of women followed me down a hallway toward a lounge area. I waved them off, pretending I needed to fix my dress. When they left, I leaned against the wall and exhaled. My phone still hadn't turned up. Neither had my purse. I was trapped in this ornate estate with no car keys, no ID that didn't have his last name, and no clue how to leave without drawing attention. That's when Adrian appeared again. He wasn't smiling this time. "What's going on?" "Funny, I was hoping you'd tell me." "Layla, stop. You're scaring people." "Good. Maybe they should be scared." I crossed my arms. "Because none of this makes sense. I don't know you. I don't remember agreeing to anything. And everyone here keeps acting like this is some fairy tale I planned. It's not." He stared at me for a long moment. "You really don't remember." "I really don't remember." His jaw tightened. He ran a hand through his hair, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. Then he stepped closer and lowered his voice. You did say yes. My heart thudded painfully. When? 2 weeks ago. Impossible. You came to my office in Chicago. We had lunch. You said you wanted to keep everything private. I laughed short, humorless. You think I flew to Chicago, met you, and agreed to marry you, then forgot the entire thing? He met my eyes steadily. Maybe not forgot. Maybe blocked it out. I took a step back. You sound insane, he sighed. You sent me the merger papers yourself. You signed them. What merger? The partnership between your firm and mine. Hassan Holdings acquired a minority stake in Carter Creative Design. I blinked. My brain couldn't even process that sentence. Carter Creative Design? That's my freelance business. It's barely a company. You're telling me some giant corporate family bought a piece of it? He nodded slowly. You said it was symbolic, a way to join forces. My mouth went dry. You're lying. Am I? He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded document. When he opened it, I saw my signature at the bottom. Crisp, confident, perfect. It was my signature. I could almost hear my heart pounding in my ears. Where did you get that? You emailed it. No, I didn't. He gave me a long, searching look. You did. Maybe not with words. He hesitated, eyes softening just a little. But you did. The way he said it gentle, like he truly believed it, sent a chill crawling down my spine. I grabbed the paper out of his hand, scanning it like maybe there'd be some clue proving it fake. It looked real. It felt real. Even the date matched the week I supposedly blacked out. Someone forged this, I said finally, though my voice shook. He didn't argue. He just watched me with that unreadable calm. That night, the celebration stretched on forever. People danced in circles, laughter echoing through the courtyard, fireworks painting the sky outside. I sat beside Adrian in the head chair, my face aching from pretending. Every few minutes, someone would come up, offer congratulations, wish us blessings, pose for photos. Adrian kept his hand over mine the entire time, firm, possessive, polite. From the outside, we probably looked perfect. Inside, I was plotting my escape. When the last guest finally left and the staff started cleaning up, I mumbled something about changing out of the gown. Adrian nodded, saying he'd handle the paperwork tomorrow and meet me for breakfast. Paperwork. As if this were just business. Back in the room, I ripped off the jewelry, peeled out of the dress, and slipped into the silk robe hanging nearby. My head throbbed. I searched every drawer, every corner for my belongings. Nothing. Not even a charger or a receipt to hint where I was. There was one thing though. On the desk near the window, a slim silver laptop. I opened it. The wallpaper was a wedding photo of us. My stomach flipped. I didn't remember posing for it. Yet, it was perfect. Me smiling up at him, his hand around my waist, sunlight glinting off my hair. If I hadn't known better, I would have believed it was real. I checked the browser history. Dozens of emails, all sent from an address that looked like mine, but wasn't a single extra letter in the username. Every message written in my tone, my style, even signed off with my usual emoji. Whoever did this knew me. I opened one email chain between me and Adrian. They'd been talking for months. Photos attached, voice notes, conversations about design, about life, about trust. I played one of the voice clips. It was my voice, soft, cheerful, teasing. Can't wait to see you again, Adrian. I slammed the laptop shut so fast the sound echoed through the room. I was shaking. This wasn't gaslighting. This was identity theft on another level. Hours passed before I dared to move again. The house had gone quiet. I slipped out into the hallway, barefoot, every step careful on the cold marble floor. The estate was enormous, high ceilings, archways, distant music still humming somewhere. I followed the glow of emergency lights down to a corridor lined with offices. One door at the end was slightly open. Inside, file cabinets, a large desk, stacks of documents. My pulse quickened. I rifled through drawers until I found a folder labeled Partnership Carter Creative. Inside were pages of contracts, digital receipts, wire transfers. Someone had transferred money into my business account, my actual account, which meant whoever did this had full access to my banking info. Every page had my name, my logo, my damn signature. I sank into the chair, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. Then I heard footsteps. I turned just as Adrian appeared in the doorway, half asleep in a white shirt, no tie, sleeves rolled up. What are you doing here? Finding proof, I said, holding up the file, of whatever this is. He walked in slowly, hands in his pockets. You shouldn't be here alone. Why? Afraid I'll remember something? He leaned against the desk opposite me. I'm afraid you'll get hurt. I laughed bitterly. From what? Paper cuts? He studied me for a long time, then said quietly, You were the one who found me, Layla. Don't you remember? I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Because the way he said it wasn't accusing. It was sad. Like he genuinely believed I once wanted this. And that terrified me more than anything. When I saw the photo, my heart stopped. Because it was me, only it wasn't. I didn't sleep that night. Maybe because every time I closed my eyes, I saw Adrian's face, that calm, unreadable expression when I told him I didn't remember anything. Or maybe it was the way the whole house seemed to breathe in whispers, like secrets were living in the walls. By midnight, the music and laughter from the day had faded into a strange kind of silence, a heavy, expectant quiet. Somewhere in the courtyard, I could hear the rustle of silk curtains moving with the breeze and the faint hum of distant ocean waves. Everyone had gone to sleep, everyone except me, and I had a plan. The office was on the west side of the estate, a marble hallway away from the bedrooms, lined with portraits of people who all shared one feature, the same sharp eyes. Adrian's eyes. I crept past them barefoot, heart pounding so loud I was scared it would echo. The dress I'd borrowed from the wardrobe plane. Cream-colored, thankfully not bridal, brushed against my knees as I moved. The doorknob to the office turned too easily. Unlocked. That alone told me something. Either someone trusted me too much or they wanted me to find what was inside. The office looked like a museum. Golden lamps, a mahogany desk polished to perfection, stacks of files arranged with obsessive precision. A faint smell of oud and paper. On the desk, there was a sleek silver laptop, and jackpot, a biometric fingerprint pad. My gut told me to try. I pressed my finger on it, not expecting much. Click, the screen lit up. My heart nearly exploded. The wallpaper was a photo of Adrian and me smiling at each other like we'd been in love for years. My hand rested on his chest, his arm around me. The kind of photo you'd take during an engagement shoot. I don't even remember posing for it, but it was me. My face, my hair, my dimples, my scar near the right brow, all there. Except something felt off. The smile was softer. The eyes had a different focus, almost shy. More reserved. Like someone who grew up differently. I told myself it could just be editing. Lighting. Filters, but then I found the folder labeled Layla_records. Inside were hundreds of photos, some from what looked like vacations, some from business events, some from the wedding preparations. In every picture I was there, laughing, hugging people, looking at Adrian like he was the center of my universe. And yet I'd never lived a single one of those moments. Then I found the emails. At first glance, they were normal messages between Adrian and me, planning a wedding, discussing joint investments. He called me my calm storm. I called him my safe chaos. Except I'd never written those words. I scrolled faster, heart hammering, until one video attachment caught my eye. It was titled, Message for Adrian, April 3rd. When I played it, my throat went dry. Because on screen was me, sitting in what looked like the same bedroom I woke up in, wearing casual clothes, smiling gently at the camera. Hey, she said, my voice, but slightly different cadence, softer. I've been thinking about everything, about how strange this all feels, but how right it also does. I'm ready, Adrian. I know you've been patient. I just need you to promise that no matter what happens, you'll trust me, even if I seem different later. The video ended. I just sat there, staring at my own face frozen on the screen. My breath came in shallow waves. My first thought wasn't even how this was possible. It was why. Why did this person look like me? Why did she sound like me? And why did she say, even if I seem different later? The sound of a soft knock made me jump. Layla. It was Adrian's voice, low, cautious, like he already knew I was somewhere I shouldn't be. I panicked, slamming the laptop shut and pretending to look for a pen. He stepped inside quietly, wearing a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, collar undone, relaxed but sharp. The kind of man who always seemed composed even at 2 a.m. I thought you might be here, he said. You couldn't sleep. I forced a laugh. Guess I'm just restless. Everything feels surreal. His eyes softened and he leaned against the doorframe. Understandable. It's been a long few days. There it was again, that calm certainty, like he knew things I didn't. So I decided to push. Adrian, I said, when did we first meet? His gaze lingered on me for a second too long. You don't remember? Just tell me, I pressed. He looked away, almost smiling. You reached out to me. You said you'd been following my company's work for a while. You sent a proposal for a collaboration, art, design, branding. You said you wanted to combine our worlds. We started talking every night. About work, about life. You told me you felt like you'd known me forever. My skin went cold. I never sent any proposal, I said quietly. I never even heard of your company before I woke up here. He looked at me sharply now, confusion replacing his calm. That's not possible, he said. You even sent voice messages, Layla. You laughed. He stopped, studying me like he was trying to see beneath my skin. Adrian, I whispered, I think someone used me, my face, my voice, to talk to you. He took a step closer, then another until the air between us felt charged. Who would do that? I don't know, I said, but I intend to find out. The next night, when everyone thought I'd finally calmed down, I went back into the office. This time, I searched the system logs, emails, scanned passports, contracts, all leading back to one encrypted folder labeled Lean Project. It was password protected, but the name Lean stuck in my head like a whisper I'd heard before. I dug deeper through physical files until I found something odd tucked beneath a stack of old invoices. A birth certificate. Mine, or at least I thought it was. Except at the bottom, written faintly in pen, were two names. Layla Carter, Lean Hassan, same birth date, same hospital. My stomach twisted. I checked the back of the document. Someone had scribbled a note. Separated, one adopted abroad for protection. That's when it hit me. The girl in the videos, the one who looked like me, talked like me, lived my supposed life, wasn't a stranger. She was me. Just not this me. She was my twin. I stumbled back from the desk, the air leaving my lungs. I remembered all the times my adoptive parents avoided questions about my birth, the missing months on my baby records, how they always said the hospital lost documents. They knew. They had to have known. My throat burned as tears filled my eyes. So all of this, the wedding, the contract, the chaos, it wasn't a random nightmare. It was deliberate. Someone had orchestrated it. And the only people powerful enough to do that were standing under the same roof as me. When I finally told Adrian the next morning, he didn't react the way I expected. He didn't shout. He didn't deny it. He just sat down slowly, rubbing his temples, and said in a low, exhausted voice, I thought I was going insane. I blinked. What do you mean? He looked up, meeting my gaze. From the moment you woke up, you felt different. Your handwriting, the way you walk, your expressions, I noticed all of it. I told myself it was the trauma from the illness, from the stress. Your mother told me you'd been through a lot. That maybe your memory would come back after the wedding. Her mother, I repeated. You mean my biological mother? He nodded, guilt flickering in his eyes. They didn't tell me the full truth. They just said you were the one. That the families had agreed and it would strengthen both sides. I trusted them. I trusted you. Until now. The room spun for a second. So you're saying you thought I was? Lean, he finished quietly. Yes. I sat down, gripping the edge of the table. So what happens now? The real Lean, she's still alive, right? Adrian hesitated. Yes, he said finally. But she's been sick. They said she had a condition, one that made it impossible for her to travel or attend the ceremony. They said she wanted this. She wanted me to marry you? He exhaled, eyes closing briefly. They said she wanted you to take her place, to keep the business deal intact, to protect the family name. I laughed bitterly. So I was just a replacement bride, a look-alike to keep the empire clean. Adrian's voice was quiet. Maybe that's what they wanted, but that's not who you are. Something in his tone made my heart stutter. For the first time, I saw something raw in his eyes. Guilt, yes, but also something deeper. Concern, affection, and I hated that part of me softened under it. Because despite everything, he'd been gentle, patient, never once tried to control me. He could have locked me in that house and forced me to play the role, but he didn't. He looked at me now the way someone looks at a ghost, someone they lost but are afraid to lose again. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about Len, about the kind of life she must have lived, wealthy, sheltered, loved by people who thought I was gone forever. And yet, she'd chosen me to take her place. Why? Was it desperation, a deal, or something darker? When I looked at the mirror before bed, I couldn't tell which face was mine anymore. The features staring back looked like mine, but now they carried her name, her life, her husband. I touched my reflection, whispering, "Who are you?" And in that moment, the phone on the bedside table buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "I'm coming home soon, sister. Don't ruin what I built." I froze. The message was timestamped 1 minute ago, meaning she was alive, watching, and close enough to know everything happening inside this house. I looked at Adrian, asleep beside the faint light from the hallway, unaware of the storm about to break. The truth was finally surfacing, and it wasn't just about me. Someone had rewritten our lives, and now both versions of me were about to collide. When my twin walked into the hall in a matching gown, I finally understood this wasn't about love or family. It was about power. It started with the sound of heels echoing down the marble hallway. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, still holding the phone that had sent that text, the one that ended with, "Don't ruin what I built." My hands were shaking. I kept staring at the words, like maybe if I blinked enough, they'd vanish. But they didn't. They just sat there, glowing on the screen, mocking me. And then I heard its slow, deliberate footsteps. Soft at first, then sharper, as if whoever was walking wanted to make sure I knew she was coming. I looked up when the door opened, and there she was, Lean. She looked exactly like me. Same face, same eyes, same scar near the brow, except she was paler, thinner, her movements almost regal, but fragile, like a porcelain doll that could crack if you breathed too hard. She wore a pale gold gown that mirrored the one I'd been forced into during the ceremony. Only hers had a longer train, heavier jewelry, the kind that screamed old money. For a second, we just stared at each other, mirror images that shouldn't have existed. Then she smiled. "I guess I should say thank you," she said softly. "You've done better than I expected." "Better than you expected?" I repeated, my voice trembling. "You stole my life." Her smile didn't fade. "No, Layla, I gave you one. You had no idea who you really were before this. You were designing billboards and running from your own reflection. I gave you purpose." "Purpose?" I laughed bitterly. "You used me as a replacement bride." She tilted her head slightly, eyes cold. "I did what I had to do. The family needed the alliance, and I wasn't strong enough to go through with it. You were the perfect solution." "You could have asked," I snapped. "You could have told me the truth." Lean's gaze darkened. "Would you have said yes?" I didn't answer, because of course I wouldn't have. Who says yes to being traded like a business contract? Behind her, two of the family's assistants appeared, older men, stoic, dressed in traditional attire. One of them cleared his throat. "Miss Layla," he said, addressing me carefully, "Madam requests that you rest. You've done your duty. Everything will be managed quietly now." Managed quietly. Translation: disappear. That night, I didn't sleep again. I kept hearing Lean's words, the way she said perfect solution, like I was just a well-fitting puzzle piece. When dawn crept through the curtains, I made my decision. If they wanted me to vanish, I'd do the opposite. By sunrise, I was in the office again, the same place was where I'd first uncovered the truth. Only this time, I wasn't searching. I was collecting. Emails, footage, contracts. I downloaded everything onto a flash drive and backed it up to a cloud folder. Every message Lean sent pretending to be me. Every forged signature. Every photo that proved she'd orchestrated this deception. And then I found one last file, a calendar invite. Event, wedding celebration, gala press partners. Time, 7 p.m. Location, grand ballroom. Perfect. If they wanted to keep this quiet, they were about to have the loudest wedding in history. When I walked into the hall that evening, all eyes turned toward me. The ballroom looked like something out of a royal film, golden chandeliers, white roses spilling from barges, people dressed in silk and pearls, cameras lined the sides, journalists murmuring as they prepared for the family's grand appearance. And then, as if on cue, she entered Lean. escorted by her mother, smiling for the cameras like she'd been born to be adored. Only she wasn't alone. Adrian stood beside her. My chest tightened. He looked conflicted, polite, distant, but not at ease. When his gaze found mine across the room, I saw recognition flicker there. Relief too, but also guilt. I forced myself to stand taller, smoothing the pale gown I'd chosen, not the bridal one, but close enough that people would notice the resemblance. When the host called for the family to give their welcoming remarks, I made my move. I stepped onto the stage. At first, people thought I was part of the show. Cameras turned, flashes sparked. Then whispers rippled through the crowd as they realized there were two of us. I took a deep breath and spoke into the microphone. "Good evening," I began, my voice shaking just enough to sound human. "I'm Layla Carter, or as some of you might have seen on every magazine cover this week, Mrs. Layla Hassan. Only, that's not the full story." Lean's smile faltered. Her mother's eyes went cold as ice. Adrian took a step forward, but I raised a hand. "I woke up 3 days ago in this house," I continued, "wearing a gown I didn't buy, surrounded by people I didn't know, being called a bride I never agreed to be. At first I thought it was a nightmare, but it turns out it was a plan." Gasps echoed through the room. "I was used," I said, voice rising. "Used to replace someone who couldn't be here, someone who happens to share my face, my twin sister, Lean Hassan. Separated from me at birth, kept secret, and when she couldn't attend her arranged wedding, I was brought in, without consent, without explanation." Lean's composure cracked. "Layla, that's enough." "No," I cut her off. "It's not enough until everyone knows the truth." I turned the screen behind me on. Adrian's company used those massive LED panels for presentations, and I borrowed them for something better proof. The video played, clips of Lean's emails, her fake signatures, the video message she sent to Adrian. The audience gasped again as her face filled the screen, saying the words I'd memorized, "even if I seem different later." The murmurs turned into outrage. Some reporters began recording. Others whispered to their cameramen. The family's PR manager rushed forward, trying to cut the feed, but I'd locked the laptop controls. "This wedding everyone saw," I said, looking directly at the camera now, "was built on a lie." The room erupted in chaos. Family members shouting, reporters firing questions, flashes blinding the stage. Lean was escorted out by her mother, who hissed something I couldn't hear. Adrian stood frozen, his expression unreadable. For a moment, I thought he'd walk away too. But instead, he came up beside me. He leaned close, voice low enough only I could hear. "You just burned down an empire." I met his eyes. "Good. It wasn't mine to begin with." Something like pride flickered in his gaze, and then, softly he said, "Then let's finish the job." By the next morning, the story was everywhere. Mystery twin scandal shocks high society wedding. Bride switched without consent. Billion-dollar family under fire. Reporters camped outside the estate. Social media went feral. Memes, theories, sympathy threads. My name was trending for the first time in my life, and not because of my design work. Lean's family released a statement claiming it was a misunderstanding. But the leaked documents told a different story. I'd uploaded them to anonymous forums, sent copies to major outlets, and backed everything up twice. There was no undoing it now. Adrian confronted his family privately the next day. I didn't hear the full details, but I know he walked out of that meeting alone. No guards, no entourage, just silence. When he came to see me, his tie was gone, sleeves rolled up, exhaustion written all over him. "You were right," he said quietly. "About everything." "And now?" I asked. He sighed. "Now I'm the heir to a scandal, but at least it's an honest one." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything pressing between us. Finally, he reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "I had the lawyers prepare this," he said. "An annulment. You deserve to be free, legally, emotionally, all of it." I hesitated, then took it. "You didn't have to." "I did," he said, "because I never wanted a wife who didn't choose me." The annulment went through quietly. No drama, no tears, just signatures and silence. After that, I left the estate. I moved into a small apartment in downtown LA, noisy, imperfect, alive. I started painting again, designing again. I poured every ounce of confusion, anger, and discovery into my art. Within months, I launched my own design firm, Layla Studio, focused on identity, memory, and rebirth. One of our first exhibitions was called Mirror Me. It went viral. People connected to the idea of reclaiming yourself after being told who you should be. The story behind it mine spread organically, stripped of all the luxury headlines. They didn't see me as a scandal anymore. They saw me as someone who survived being rewritten and chose to write herself back. 6 months later, I was sketching at a cafe when someone sat down across from me. I didn't even have to look up. I knew that cologne, that quiet presence. Adrian. He looked different. More relaxed, maybe even happier. No more bodyguards. Just a man in a gray sweater, hands clasped on the table, eyes soft. "Didn't expect to see you here," I said. "Didn't expect you'd still drink the same awful coffee," he said with a half smile. We talked for a while about work, about the chaos that followed, about how his family's empire was restructuring. He'd left, started his own venture. No boardrooms, no arranged alliances, just projects he actually cared about. When he finally stood to leave, he hesitated. "Layla," he said, "I meant what I told you that day." I frowned. "Which part?" He smiled faintly. "I never wanted a wife who didn't choose me, but I'm still here. If one day you do." For a long moment, neither of us said anything. The world outside hummed with traffic and life. Finally, I smiled. This time, I said, if I say I do, it'll be my choice. He nodded once, like that was all he needed, and walked away. When I got home, I looked at myself in the mirror, the same mirror where I'd once asked, who are you? This time, the answer was clear. I was Layla Carter. Not a replacement, not a shadow, not half of someone else. Just me. Whole, flawed, free. And that, after everything, felt like the truest wedding vow I could ever make. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the story. We have so many more amazing stories coming your way, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Our goal is to reach 100K subscribers by the end of this year, and we'd love for you to be part of this journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.